On the Las Vegas Raiders rundown, we are going to talk about what's going to happen in this Raiders versus Vikings preseason matchup, which players you should look out for, and what to expect from the Vikings side of the ball as well. My name is WiFiWillie. Let's get right into this. First off, I do not think the Raiders are going to play any starters. I don't think you're going to see Derek Carr, Devontae, and Darren Waller or Renfro out there, because I think the Vikings are also not going to play many starters. You have reports already that Kirk Cousins apparently got a little sick. I don't want to say this word, but yeah, he got a little sick out there and he tested positive. So Kirk Cousins was recently sent home with an undisclosed illness for the Minnesota Vikings, and now it looks like he won't be in this upcoming matchup. And hey, yeah, keep him far away. We don't need any of our Raiders players becoming infected and then having to get ruled out and all that stuff. So keep Kirk Cousins far away and keep anybody who is around him who also tested positive far away, because I just don't want us coming up positive on a test there. Also, what's happening with the Vikings, and then we're going to get into some of the top Raiders players that you need to pay attention to in this upcoming game, guys that are actually going to be playing in this game. We're going to get into them in just a second. But with the Vikings, by the way, outside of Kirk Cousins and their QB situation, there's a battle between Kellen Mond and Sean Mannion. And one thing that's happening is the Vikings and some of the fans aren't too happy about their backup QB situation. So I think we're going to see a struggling Vikings offense in this upcoming game. And I think it's a perfect opportunity for the Raiders to eat and for the Raiders defensive players to eat and really take advantage of this matchup. By the way, picture this. You're drunk as hell at a Raiders game against the 49ers. You just got into a fight and you lost your wallet because somebody was talking crap on Derek Carr. Thankfully, you got Ekster's solar powered tracker card. You'll never lose your wallet again. Connect it to your smartphone and place it inside your Parliament Classic wallet. Don't deal with those bulky wallets that hurt your back. Hell no. Have this classic wallet. Boom. Access your cards easily through Ekster. Save 20% with my link. It's in the pinned comment below and the description. At Ekster, WiFiWillie at Ekster in the pinned comment. You won't regret it. So let's get into some of the top Raiders players that are going to be playing in this upcoming game. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. Then we're going to get to the defense side of the ball and see what we think is going to happen here. Tyron Johnson, a lot of people were excited about him. He had those reports in camp that he was straight going off, and he had that big play over Jonathan Abram from Derek Carr. Now, he's found that kind of interesting, taking reps with Derek Carr. What does that really mean? And this guy, out of all the wide receivers last game, he played the most. He played the most in this previous game, and you saw him have the most targets out of any wide receiver on the team in this previous game. He had 5 targets, but only reeled in 2 receptions. And you see that drop PFF grade right here next to my index finger, 27.3. I think he had 2 drops exactly that were totally on him. But the one drop that he had that was impressive, it was that deep pass play. And honestly, the fact that he was able to get open was impressive in itself. So that's the thing about Tyron Johnson. Still need to work out the kinks. I think just needs more volume, needs more targets, needs more live game experience right now to really put it all together. Because guess what? Yes, I know he had those 2 drops, but he was getting open, flash with speed and athleticism. And I think this is the perfect game to kind of put the drops behind you that you had last game. And then let's try to have a higher percentage target reception ratio. And I think this dude could ball out in this upcoming game. And he'll probably play a majority of the time, just like he did in the previous game before. Another guy I'm excited about, and I don't know how much he's going to play. You saw Amir Abdullah, the running back, play primarily in the second and third quarter last game. Austin Walter kind of finished out the rest of the game with Zamir White in the fourth and third quarter. But you saw him in the receiving game. 2 receptions, long reception 2, I believe it was 22 yards total in receiving. And also the touchdown with the samurai kick, or the taekwondo kick. I don't want to say samurai, taekwondo style kick by Amir Abdullah. And the thing about him is he's really impressive. You've heard a lot of reports from camp that this guy seems like he's going to be useful. It seems like he has a particular role in this team. We know Brandon Bolden will probably be the running back on passing downs. He filled that role for the Patriots last year when James White ended up being injured. We're going to see Brandon Bolden there, but we need depth at that position. And then he's also found a way to show that he could run, obviously, in the red zone and in the goal line situation. That's why he picked up that touchdown last game. So I think perhaps in this game, if I were to predict, just assuming, trying to get into McDaniel's mind, maybe a little less Jacobs, a little less Kenyon Drake in this game, and maybe we see more Abdullah, more Austin Walter, and obviously some Zamir White as well. And hey, with how impressive Zamir White was last game, maybe you just have less Zamir White. I don't know. That's also an option if this guy's climbing up in the depth chart. But Amir Abdullah, someone to pay attention to, someone who could seriously make this roster and really carve out a niche role on this team, in my opinion. And Brandon Parker has been absent for a couple practices. He's not on IR, despite all the people who desperately want engagement on social media on YouTube, he is not on IR. And Josh McDaniels says he's working to get back. Brandon Parker's working to get back, just like a lot of people. No indication he's on IR right now. And Thayer Munford's getting some opportunities. The rookie out of Ohio State. With the absence of Brandon Parker, this guy's going to have a shot, perhaps to play for a significant amount of time in this upcoming preseason game. You also saw Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle in this last game as well. So it's not going to be all Thayer Munford and Leatherwood, right? But I do think this guy could maybe climb to number 2 on the depth chart, maybe compete with Leatherwood, but I still think, yes, Leatherwood did struggle in pass protection, but I still think the organization probably wants him to win the job. I mean, just being real, it's less dead money you have to part with. So even though they're going to be tough and they're going to, treat everybody equally, I do still think there's leverage there. Being a young athletic player from Alabama, who's a former first-round pick, I still think there's leverage there to start at right tackle for Alex Leatherwood. And if I had to say who's the starter week 1, I would still say Leatherwood right now. I thought Brandon Parker was going to give him a run for the money, because guess what? Brandon Parker, yes, he did bad against the Jags, but that was when he was on the left side, and it is different. There are tackles. Tevin Jenkins from the Bears, the guy that everybody wants, he does not play left tackle. He refuses to. He only does right tackle. It's a specialized position. Either way, Thayer Munford was decent for a rookie in his first preseason game. I will say so. Only gave up 2 pressures. You could see that here by my index finger. Only gave up 2 pressures after playing over 28 snaps. I mean, that's some decent, impressive stuff. So if we bump that up, maybe see him in there for 40 snaps. I'd be really curious to see how he does with 40 snaps. But 63.5 pass blocking grade, not too shabby. Didn't give up a sack, didn't give up a QB hit, and maybe he can carve a rollout for himself. After playing at a legit dope school, Ohio State, he has competed against top players, and that's what people asked him in this press conference. They're like, oh, how does it feel to go against Max Crosby? And he was even saying, look, dude, this isn't totally new to me. At Ohio State, I went against Chase Young. This guy has played against NFL talent throughout his college career, so hopefully he can carve a rollout for himself as well. Malcolm Kuntz, obviously we love Malcolm Kuntz, man. Sorry if that was a little loud, but Malcolm Kuntz did really well in this previous game, and I think the absence of Clelin Ferrell is making it so Malcolm Kuntz has more of a role. Yes, he doesn't have the same height advantage as Clelin Ferrell, but weight-wise, I mean, this guy is really only 5 to 10 pounds, I think 10 pounds away from Clelin Ferrell. I think he needs to take advantage of this opportunity right now, because I believe Ferrell was the guy, and perhaps even Kyler Fackrell, to be number 2 behind Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. And with the absence of Ferrell, with the absence of Fackrell and Ferrell, this just sounds like some type of cereal you can order or whatever. Either way, Fackrell and Ferrell, the absence of those 2 guys, I think Malcolm Kuntz, wide opening for him to be the number 2 edge defender in the regular season. If we need to give Crosby a break, if we need to give Chandler Jones a break, put in some Malcolm Kuntz. Let's see how he can do. And hopefully he continues to perform as well as he has. 3 hurries, 3 pressures, 80.5 PFF grade in pass rushing off of almost 30 snaps. Maybe we'll see him do a couple more snaps, maybe closer to 40, almost as much as a full game. And I will say Chris Jones, very talented last game for playing practically the whole game. Chris Jones was out there. We know Rock Ya-Sin, Anthony Averett have gone down. We just signed Nate Brooks today, the cornerback. Give us some depth there at cornerback. But Chris Jones, I thought in this last preseason game was very impressive. You see the 83.7 PFF grade, had a dropped interception, was one of the, I think he was the only Raiders player to have multiple pass breakups on the day. And part of that, you could say, oh, well, he played 50 snaps. He played a majority of the game. Okay, at the same time, he was really good, even though he played most of the time. He didn't give up 1 reception, 0 for 2. He had 2 targets, and look at the grades, 83, 83.7, a lot of green there. You'd like to see that. So Chris Jones, a late free agent signing, somebody who was signed after free agency, with this problem now with the cornerbacks missing practice and with the Raiders having to sign another cornerback due to that. Yeah, maybe Chris Jones is not going to be the starting cornerback for the Las Vegas Raiders, but I think he's making an impression on the rest of the NFL, and I think he has a really easy shot to make this 53-man roster. When you look at the bottom of the cornerback room, him competing against Webb, Amik Robertson, figures like that, I thought he was impressive, and I think the Raiders should give him a shot and really take a look at how he looks in this upcoming game, because he seems like he's taking advantage of his opportunities. And Bryce Cosby, I mean, look, I know the grades, he didn't have the greatest grades, greatest stats. I think he only had 3 tackles tackles, three like solo tackles on the day. Bryce Crosby, the safety from Ball State, transitioning to slot corner. We know Patrick Graham does like to have safeties in at slot corner. You saw Cosby play a lot of that. And he's no Bill Cosby. He's a smooth guy, okay? This guy was just on fire in this previous game. I mean, looking at him, anytime you saw the ball in a particular area, Cosby was there and he just was laying on hits. Very physical guy. Yes, he had a couple miscues. I would say you see that 57.9 PFF grade at defense. However, I just thought this guy popped on the screen when you watch him. You saw a lot of people talking about him after the game, and maybe give this guy a shot. UDFA, and he has that kind of flexibility and versatility. He can play safety and also drop in a slot corner. That gives you a lot of depth. When you got a guy who could back up two positions, I think that's a lot more valuable than a guy who's only going to back up one position. So I want to pay attention to Cosby, see what he can do, see if he can make a little improvements here and there. But I still think he was very impressive, and I think he was one of the better defensive players in the second half of the game against the Jaguars. So let's see how he does against Minnesota. And I'm excited for this game. Make sure you're with us live during the game. We will be live doing reaction, play-by-play, hanging out. So make sure you're here. Turn on notifications so you don't miss us during the game. My name is WiFiWillie of the Raiders Rundown. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.